Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome in, welcome in. Let's see, what were we up to last time? We've got to fight Scarzig still. We're in the... Yes, we're in Orbis. We got to go to Aqua Road, which I kind of don't want to do. I've got to go into Orbis Tower for Junior Sentinels. I can get these cloud pieces first. The Star Pixies are pretty weak. And then I've got to go into Orbis Tower to do Moppy's quest, Nero's quest, and Huckle is stranded in Orbis Tower. So Star Pixies. Gotta remember to set up my magic guard. Yeah, what's up, Sabanes? Ah, right, daylight savings. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. It's gonna be different for a lot of y'all. Daylight savings completely snuck up on me as well. I was kind of just chilling and I was like, wow, the I was like, wow, the time on my stove is wrong. What's going on here? I think since they're like little wizards, I think they have like really high magic resist or something. For us in the countries where they do things correctly, yes. There is a growing movement in the United States to end daylight savings time. I know for certain that's a thing. It's like such an archaic thing, and it was invented before the United States was even, spread all the way out to the West Coast the way it is now. So like the fact that the United States covers like 4 time zones or whatever is just it's incompatible with daylight saving time. Greetings and salutations. Subscriber star has essentially nuked itself, throwing every not safe for work creator in my circle into chaos. I'm once again exhausted by existing. Is that like a monetization platform? I think aren't you on VGen? I thought VGen was fine with not safe for work stuff. I actually haven't played Maple since the last stream, if you can believe it. I've been running a lot of errands. Been pretty busy with like other stuff lately. Mostly doing a lot of stuff around the house. Yesterday we painted a new ceiling fan that we bought because it was in the wrong finish to match the decor, and then we pulled down the overhead light in the room where we were installing it and got that wired up and set up, so it was really nice. Think of it as Patreon 2, but just far freer. Oh, I know that Patreon, aside from like its stances, has been pretty bad just in general. Because they like change the way that it charges people's cards and stuff. It like took away payment options, but then also changed like the time of the month that the payment is pulled or something like that. So it like really threw a lot of people off. And it does stink, right? Because everybody was always all like, "Oh, you got to diversify. You've got to do this, that, and the other thing." So that why can't I pick up this cloud piece? Somebody must have damaged that one particular star pixie. Sadly, the payment processors got to them and broke their backs. Yeah, it seems to be like that all over the place. That lightning strike spell is so sick. All right. Now this is gonna be a short stream, y'all, because I am gonna be heading out with for an outing. I'm going to catch a hockey game with my sister-in-law. Yeah, they won't let me pick up this cloud piece. It's got to be bugged. Weird. Yeah, like it let me pick up that cloud piece, but not that one. I think it's got to have something to do with the number of sprites or something. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's like too close to the ladder. I do not know. The lightning strike, definitely you've got to be casting it with booster. The animation is way too long otherwise. The spell is a Mega Man X Buster Charger sound. I wouldn't be surprised if they had to do some scavenging for some of the custom spell changes that they've made for this version. It's funny too because there's a lot of sound effects I feel like are actually like stock video game sound effects on certain enemies, or I feel like I've heard elsewhere, but it's hard to say. For just a couple hours, though, it'll be pretty easy for me to find these cloud pieces. I'll stick around and help Homeboy in the party find some cloud pieces, too. Because they aren't, like, giga rare drops, you can see. These dropping stiff feathers is really nice. It feels like I've been having to deal with find me stiff feathers for a lot of quests. The audio mixing feels like it probably could be helped for these spells, but it's hard to say. With our powers combined, we'll AoE down everything. There we go. I think when I level up next, I'm going to do like 1 point of booster, 2 points of mastery. I think that's what I settled on. I wonder, because Lightning Strike, it takes like 4 or 5 casts, and then I've got to change the hotkey for my booster. It won't matter really once I get it like maxed out and it lasts for like 3 minutes, but when I'm casting it more frequently, I need it on a better button. I don't want to fuck up my muscle memory though. I have it on the A key, it's just that it's too close to the S key, which pulls up your stat window. But in other news, I finally uploaded a MapleStory video. I made my other YouTube channel, The Stolen Fence, that I was telling you all about. I finally got a video recorded and edited. So if you want to, if you put !maple in the chat, it'll link you to that video. I really appreciate it if you can give that a full watch and a like and a sub and all that. I'm not allowed to stream from a new YouTube channel yet. I have to wait a bit. So that's why I'm still streaming from the main channel. Kind of getting the word out. I'm hoping the algorithm will kind of do its thing. The MapleStory Classic World signups just dropped. And so I think that now, as the game gets closer and closer to release, we're going to be seeing a lot more, you know, hype and interest around the game. It kind of ebbs and flows, you know what I mean? It's funny, a lot of YouTubers I saw made videos about the signups dropping and how to sign up. And it's like, I guess it would make sense if you don't have Twitter, I suppose. You maybe have a higher chance of seeing that the signups are available if you've been following specifically just old school MapleStory YouTubers. So it does make sense that they made the video. It just seemed like a little silly to me personally, but it's actually good content to just let your audience know what's up, what to expect for the sign up, because it's just literally agree to the terms of service, submit your email, and then hope for the best. The test is 5,000 players selected from the signups that they get, plus the attendees from MapleCon, and then the PC Cafe tests, the in-person tests. And I heard when they were doing the in-person PC Cafe tests, they had a lot of signups for people who were like trying to reserve time slots, but not a lot of people showed up. And of course, I think that would be the case. People probably signed up to reserve a slot for the test, but didn't recognize that it was only like one location, I think it was, in California. Or people that, yeah, they signed up to get a slot, but maybe they couldn't get that day off of work or something like that. You know what I mean? Because we're all grown-ups now playing MapleStory, so we have to think about the jobs and the scheduling. So I wouldn't take that as an indicator that Classic World is, you know, there isn't interest. I think that running an in-person test seems like a really good idea when the person who comes up with the idea is from Korea. And there's a lot more of a PC cafe culture there, right? And I guess for those of you who might not be familiar for whatever reason, the PC cafe is just a place where you pay like a membership fee and then you go and you get to play whatever game you want on a really fancy, like high-end PC with good ass internet, and the place sells like food and snacks and stuff, I suppose. But generally in America, you know, we all have our own computers. And it's not like you need a fancy PC to play Maple, but it's just more about the social culture. You know what I mean? Because you don't necessarily have to play MapleStory. It's also for like League of Legends and stuff. A PC bang? Yeah, exactly. And back in the day, they actually had exclusive content for old school MapleStory that was only accessible if you logged in from a PC cafe. And of course, that ended up getting removed from the global MapleStory version because it's not really a thing outside of Korea. But when it comes to the online signups, I think that that's where they're going to be like, oh shit, way more people signed up than we thought. And I don't know what their criteria is. They're going to probably get a good smattering of players from across the US just to kind of test like where they should be putting servers, or if they're going to be piggybacking off of existing infrastructure. Their magic actually doesn't hurt me at all. I should be actually trying to take hits from them rather than touch damage. But with signups happening, how many more you need? That's a good question. 8. Let me test something. 1, 2. I think the lightning strike is faster. Is not as, it's individually stronger than Magic Claw. But because Magic Claw hits twice, I think it maybe does scale with Mastery better. Like, on average, yeah, the Magic Claw is still going to be doing more damage, which makes sense. Because I only have 1 point in Lightning Strike. But what I was going to say is, with the hype building up now, they're going to be... Because the signups are... They're taking signups for the next, like, couple weeks, I think. But the test doesn't actually start until April, I think. And then when information from the closed beta happens, because I don't believe you're able to stream it or record it or whatever, but the information, I think people are still going to be sharing about, like, different changes and different ideas of the build. That's a good question. I wonder how strong the NDA will be. Because I feel like they already confirmed that you wouldn't be able to stream the closed beta. But if you are able to, then it's going to be huge for content. Being able to share with your community. A lot of MapleStory YouTubers, there's only a couple of them, I think, that actually did go to MapleCon. Like, Copper Sand, for example, is European, so I don't believe he made the trip to Los Angeles or whatever for MapleCon, or was able to make it to an American PC cafe. But they'll probably have some sort of back channel thing for content creators, right? It might be a bad look. You know, a lot of people would get upset, like, oh wow, all these closed beta slots went to YouTubers and stuff. Nexon is just, you know, favoring them too much. They need to just let the average person play in the beta so they can get feedback. And that was kind of a point I talked about as well, where it'll be difficult for them to get the right distribution of feedback. That's going to be their hardest, probably their hardest goal to reach, is getting the proper spread of players into the beta. I don't like when they pick who's going to be in the beta, you know what I mean? You sign up with your Nexon account, so they'll be able to look at your account and see like if you've played modern or not. Like they'd be able to look at my account and be like, "Oh yeah, Scarzig, he played on a little bit of Reboot years ago or has been playing tons of MapleStory Worlds old school servers lately. Lives in, P&W, plays Bandit." They'll be able to see all that data. So I wonder like what kind of criteria they're going to be using. Probably just if they have to pick 5,000 players. And I believe that's again in addition to everybody who went to MapleCon and went to the PC Cafe because they got an auto invite. If they're just going to be like, yeah, we just want 1,000 from over here, 1,000 from there, 1,000 from there, has anti-capitalism rhetoric. I've got to be on a list. I don't know. I shouldn't be. Like, and like I say, chat, my opinions aren't even radical. If we're being truly honest, compared to like some other stuff that people talk about, I just state the facts. Like stating the problem isn't even a radical position. What makes you dangerous is what you think should be done. If you're not on a list, are you even standing for something? That's a really good line, Zabanes. And definitely carries a sentiment that I've said before, right? Like, if your only means of combating the government or standing up against tyranny are the things that the government says that you're allowed to do, then you're not really making any change. You have no friction, no leverage to actually get the government to, worry about your demands whatsoever. Oh man, is this a... okay. I wonder if the guy who joined my party went and maybe there's like another stage to the quest. Oh, that's right. To turn in the quest, I have to go this way. Because it's Spirina's assistant who is trying to get us to save Orbis. God, I forget how much the Nepin deaths hurt. I feel like I should be used to it because, I play Thief normally, which is a very squishy class, but Lord have mercy. But I keep getting sidetracked and not finishing my thought. What I wanted to say is I want to make sure I release more videos. I have topics on a list that I have to like flesh out and make scripts for. And I want to try to get as much of those talking points out into the world before the beta hits and beyond. Because when it comes to the beta, a lot of information that we've been speculating about might be confirmed. A lot of stuff might be subject to change still. And if I can get my influence out there when people go into the beta, maybe some of these topics will be a little bit more front of mind for other testers when they're going into play. You know, there's going to be people who are just going in to play and enjoy the game and just have fun. There's going to be other people who are not playing the game so much as kind of digging into some of the numbers, like, oh, is this move actually better? Like, how does crit chance work? Did they make any changes to the accuracy and weapon defense algorithms and all that kind of, like, all the really under the hood changes that aren't super known about? A lot of individual testing there. And then there's going to be people who are playing and I think perhaps trying to put themselves in the mindset of like a completely new, a completely fresh player or a returning player, and figuring out what their experience is and what their preferences would be. And that third camp is what I'm trying to hit with my videos. Like, if you're going into Classic World as somebody who is similar to me, who played back in the day but really fell off the bandwagon and hasn't played any modern MapleStory really ever, you know, what does, especially now that I'm getting back into MapleStory through through the MapleStory World servers, and that, you know, what do you want to see in Classic World? Got Emerald Ore, 10k experience, the Sprayer Elma borrowed. I have one more thing to ask. Put together the cloud piece and blend it with the existing clouds and need a cloud sprayer. It was supposedly held by Spiruna before, but 50 years ago, she lent it to Elma, the housekeeper, who was anxious to see the pictures. Now your job is to go see Elma and get the cloud sprayer from her. Elma, the housekeeper, she's in the other side of Orbis. There's a new topic for you to tackle. Pokepocalypse? Pokepocalypse? Do you mean Pokopia? That new Pokemon game with the Ditto? But it turns out you can't play it without online all the time, and the chip you get for a physical cartridge has nothing inside it, only the code to download it online. Yeah, I've definitely heard about that. And people get really, really pissed that you don't get a physical game with certain releases anymore. I definitely agree, and there's been a whole discussion about, like, if you aren't producing physical cartridges and stuff for your game and I have to download it, then the game should be cheaper, is the justification that a lot of players have, or a lot of customers have. I do definitely agree that if you wanted to just buy the digital version, that means that you don't have to wait for it in the mail. You don't have to go to the store. It's a big thing, you know, in the modern day, where before it was only on PC, where you could just download the game through Steam as soon as it drops. If you were waiting for a game for your console, you had to go to a midnight release, or you had to pre-order it and then hope that there wasn't any delays and that it would come into the mail on the same day. And then other people just want the physical media for, you know, collector's purposes. Or if you don't have a lot of storage space on your Switch, right? And that's, how do I put it? It's a thing that should be complained about, but people complain about it more strongly when it comes to Pokemon and Nintendo because they're just such big, litigious corporations. All right, I need the cloud sprayer. Now, I know this seems kind of weird, right? Like, Elma borrowed the cloud sprayer 50 years ago, but Orbis is inhabited by, like, fairies and magic people, so they're, like, old as everybody up here is, like, super old. Like, immortal type fairy, hundreds of years old. They don't vote with their wallet, so they get what they deserve. I kind of understand. There's definitely a lot of FOMO when it comes to, like, game releases and stuff. But yeah, it's like, if I want to buy a game and the only way to get the game is to download it, but I want a physical copy of that game and that's not available, like, then what do you do? The thing is, Pocopia is such a good game in contrast to the usual slops, and the praise has drowned criticism, so no one's talking about it. Yeah, there's definitely good and bad with a lot of releases. It's been months since she left out of the blue. I haven't had to work much lately, so that's good. I haven't been paid in months because she's not here. If you don't care, then you don't get to complain. Yeah. I think I've said it before, like, you know, gamers don't actually have principles in that regard. You know what I mean? Like, people got really, really pissed that that Nintendo was charging $20 for Fire Red Leaf Green being ported to the Switch Virtual Console. I was under the impression I guess it's a separate game that you can just download, but I was under the impression that you just paid for the Virtual Console itself, and then you got to play all the games you wanted for free off of the catalogs. But I don't know if that's actually the case. Companies will continue to make changes that everyone hates until they stop making money. And sometimes the money that you lose in the short term by pissing off your customers, you make up for in the long run once the heat dies down and your customers kind of just get used to the new worse standard. You know what I mean? Like, there was the whole, oh, games cost $70 now instead of $60, which was like the main price for a AAA game. Everybody was like really pissed about that. And it's like, yeah, you can't, let's just charge more for our game rather than trying to make games with a smaller budget. That's what I mean. Yeah, customers cave anyway. When it comes to video games, as I said, there's like a lot of FOMO. Like, there's a lot of games I've been really interested in playing across like the time of Nintendo that I've just never bought because I'm a cheapskate. And Nintendo never, ever, 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 ever puts their games on sale or drops the price. So I'm just like, well, I'm just never going to buy it. Yeah. Like, straight up. Like, that's what made the PlayStation 2 era so godlike, is they had the greatest hits run, where when a game got really, really popular, they would re-release it. They would reprint it a couple years later under the greatest hits collection. And a greatest hits game was like $20 or $25 or something. It was a really great way to pick up a lot of the strong classic library of titles that built the console. And Nintendo just doesn't give a fuck when it comes to actually making their games cheap and available. Like, honestly, for real, if we're being super, super honest, if you wanted to do right by your players, by your longtime Nintendo fans, all of the back catalog and shit should be free. Like, should just be onboard free. If they made the Nintendo Switch 2 just a godlike play the full library of, and it would be like, they'd maybe cherry pick. It wouldn't be like a true virtual console thing like with the Wii, where they have absolutely fucking every single game, even the really obscure stuff you've never heard of. But if it was just like the greatest hits of Nintendo's history, like all available to be played, it would be really tight. Free is a bit much, but you could sell packs. Yeah, definitely. Like, if they had like the Zelda, you know what I mean, like pack where it was like every mainline game. Yeah, or just like the top one, Nintendo top 100. And then you buy the Nintendo top 100 set. They get to still double dip on games that they made a gajillion years ago that people are emulating and playing for free anyway. You get to recapture that audience and say, now you get to play these games on your Switch, and you don't have to worry about jumping through all the hoops of jailbreaking your Switch or your Steam Deck or whatever the hell people do these days. That doesn't make them infinite money. I feel like it's more of a it's kind of like it's a game preservation thing, and just like a historical preservation thing as well when it comes to games. We're getting newer and newer generations of players that have never played a video game that's been made before 2010. You know what I mean? So like the appreciation for the origins of a lot of franchises or a lot of mechanics and stuff like that is lost. And it's so funny how every few years we get discourse around Ocarina of Time, which was in its day, and for the preceding, couple decades, considered to be one of the greatest games of all time. And then whenever a new Zelda game comes out, people go back to play these old, like, mega hit, incredibly innovative titles, and they don't get it. You know what I mean? Sell red, then sell yellow, sell fire red, let's go Pikachu, then sell fire red again. Fire red was actually pretty cool when it came out because it was a rework. It was a remake that also modernized the game with a lot of new systems and upgrades to the Pokemon formula up to that point. And so that made sense. And for the mainline Pokemon games, certainly they did, blue, red, and then yellow was kind of like the cool, oh yeah, you get to have Pikachu and it follows you around and you get all the starters. So it was kind of an all-in-one. And then for silver, gold, and crystal, I agree. A lot of times, however, the remake or the remaster or the next edition or whatever doesn't add enough to justify its existence. I do agree there. Back in the days of Baines, when a game was ported or reworked or remade, it was because they were adding a bunch of shit to it. And nowadays, it's like, yep, we're going to play The Last of Us, ported once more to the next PlayStation title. I agree, but it's still the same game being resold to you, but it's just selling nostalgia at some point. There does come a point where the library being remastered and ported is mostly just targeting a nostalgic audience. And sometimes, at least back in the day, being able to make a title more widely available or simply take an older entry in the series and bring it forward with some modernization and quality of life. Like Final Fantasy, I think, is a great example. The original Final Fantasy for NES is pretty rough around the edges by today's standards, and then they added a lot of quality of life, a lot of modernizations, a lot of new content. Like, I didn't beat Final Fantasy 1 on the NES, even though I played it a shit ton back in the day. But I did beat Final Fantasy Dawn of Souls, which was the Game Boy Advance remaster that they added, where they modernized a lot of systems and did some reworks and added new weapons and spells and yada yada. In the modern day, in some remakes actually reward you for having the OG version with a discount or whatever. That's the thing too. At a certain point, because digital game downloads have just become so ubiquitous, it comes down to just downloading for accessibility's sake. Like Resident Evil 4 we talk about is another game that was a really massive hit and was ported to every single thing that could run it after it came out. Skyrim, was a meme. It was a meme for such a long time that, they were just porting Skyrim to everything. I'm going to, let's start making our way through Orbis Tower. How about that? especially when you can play the original still. Yeah, and that is the thing as well, right? If I own a game, if I bought a game, it's just consumer culture. A lot of players have bought a game multiple times for they'll buy it for PC, but then they'll buy it on the Switch so that they can play it with on their Switch because of their because they have their Switch on them when they're commuting or something like that. Or that's usually the way it goes. Like, yeah, I ended up buying Slay the Spire on my Switch. I played it a ton on PC, and now I don't have a Steam Deck, but I bought it on PC. On my Switch rather, so I can still play Slay the Spire while I'm traveling or stuff like that, right? Or I get to play Slay the Spire in my living room rather than being on my computer in my office, that sort of thing. So remember, the Junior Sentinels, we need to get Nero's bell. And Nero's ribbon, the cat. I don't know what the drop rate for these are. Hang on, actually, let me check the quest thing. They added a little tab that tells you how rare-ish the item is. Like for Arwen and the Glass Shoe, it says rare. And then for Nero's necklace, oh, it doesn't say. Spooky. Steam Deck seems like a way better purchase, especially when you can run emulators on it. Yeah, Steam Deck you can do more stuff with. And it's more powerful, right? You can actually... Oh, that was easy. There's the ribbon. Maybe we chill here for a second then and get the ribbon and the bell, since this is like right on the very beginning of Orbis Tower. We aren't straying too far away from town. Because you can see in the top left corner, it says Orbis Tower, 20th floor. Orbis Tower is not really that bad. Ludibrium Tower is more annoying to go up and back and forth through. I'm tempted to get the deck, but that's half my savings. Yeah, I do remember that as well, where like Steam Decks were sold out all the time. It was like really hard to get them. And if you're buying them from outside of the US, they're even more expensive. Steam's been generally very bad at that in Valve, right? Where regional pricing is just not ever really calculated correctly, it feels like. Well, the next gen was supposed to be coming, but you can thank AI for the upcoming delay. Yeah, even the Steam Machine, I think it was called, they ended up delaying. Because of like RAM prices and stuff. It would be one thing if the RAM supply was still available. Companies would just make it, and then the Steam Machine would be like $800 or whatever the fuck. But they don't even have the RAM to build the machines and overcharge for them. Yeah, it's really cringe. Which isn't, and even that is an understatement. Sorry, but if you condone, if your console can't be bought by 2 months of salary savings, it's overpriced and not worth it. A lot of consoles are overpriced. That's definitely for sure, for their performance and for their release library. Like, do you remember the ancient memes of the PlayStation 3 has no games? It was just this super fucking overpriced brick that had nothing. The original PS3, I think its only upsell was Demon Souls, and it could play Blu-rays. Another ribbon? Oh my god. That's so troll. We got the ribbon rather than the bell. I didn't know that was possible. It was God of War 3 or something. Eventually, they added some games for PlayStation 3, but it kind of, I guess, like Grand Theft Auto and stuff. But it just felt like you bought this machine just to have it. Like having a PlayStation was just a status symbol, but it wasn't actually for fun or playing games. And then they shore up the library by just remastering a lot of games, which is basically what they did with the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, to my mind. You'll have to forgive me because I'm not hyper familiar. I think I am going to stick on the 19th and 20th floors rather than going super deep. Because the Huckle, I believe, is near the bottom of Orbis Tower. And I'd rather just run down there really quick to take his quest rather than... If I accept his quest, I wonder if it's like kill 100 Junior Sentinels and I kind of save a little bit of time there. And if the golden bell for Nero's necklace is very rare, I'm probably going to have to kill a gajillion of these anyway. So I guess I might as well. It's pretty easy to go down Orbis Tower, then climb back up it. Yo, what's up, Venom? Welcome back. Hey, quick reminder, you can use the Maple admin instead of boats. Oh, I didn't think about that. That's the ribbon drop number 3. Are the ribbons dropped by Junior Sentinels and then the gold bell is dropped by a different monster? Let me double check the quest and see if there's a hint. I needed to take the boat so I can get the Maple History book, though, so I gotta remember that for next time, like when I'm going to Ludi. Yeah, it says Junior Sentinels, Red Ribbon, and Golden Bell. I feel like the Switch has no games, but I guess that's just because there's nothing that I care for. So the bell is really rare? Okay. I really appreciate you, Venom, as always. Having the extra Maple knowledge is incredibly helpful. I'm just kind of, well, these are regular Sentinels. The small ones are the Junior Sentinels. But I was going to go talk to Huckle. Isn't he down on, like, the 4th floor or something? I can't remember if Huckle's quest line is, kill Junior Sentinels or not. Yeah, so I guess now that I'm running out of juniors, I'll stay near the top, so that way when I find the golden bell, I can immediately turn it into Homeboy for his cat. And then I guess I could use the magic rock in order to go to the bottom of the tower. Yeah, I know that you have to find Huckle for the dog, Moppy, and then Huckle is like trapped in a secret room at the bottom of the tower because the monsters are too strong for him to leave. And I think he asks you to like kill a bunch of monsters. Yeah, so it won't be that bad. We'll have the shell pieces then by the time we get down there. It's in the 10th floor, thank you. I knew it was near-ish the bottom. I probably would have found it on my way down, because isn't there like a crack in the stone? There's like a little visual clue that there's a secret room there, a hidden street. And I might be misremembering, but I feel like Huckle's room was legitimately hidden for a while. there was no visual indication that there was a portal there. You just had to stumble upon it by accident. If I remember correctly, you had to like fall off of a ladder or a platform a certain way so that you fell down onto like this really specifically small platform that has a hidden portal. And if you didn't do that basically by accident or look it up, there was no way to find it. That might just be an urban legend. But I know that in general in old school MapleStory that there were a lot of hidden streets that were legitimately like there was no visual clue that there was anything there. Like when you showed me the entrance to Pig Beach and I was like, "Fuck, I remember this being in a different spot or I remember it being more obvious." And that is one thing I hope that they will do in Classic World. That's probably a good topic for a video, is to make hidden streets that's going to be the thing, right? In Classic World, a lot of veterans are going to be returning and we know where all the hidden portals and training spots are, and they should make new ones. I think that would be kind of cool, especially with all of the potentially new players that are going to be crowding a lot of the early maps. Yeah, if it's a fetch quest, just a etc. monster drop quest, then it'll be easy to do because you can just grab all the stuff ahead of time. Yeah, that is very valid. I've made that mistake before, where you go to the bottom of the tower and you try to use a return scroll and you get teleported to Elnath, and it's like mad annoying. But I was talking about this last time. I historically have spent very little time in Orbis and Elnath. In this level range, it's generally better to just go to Ludibrium. The monsters are better to train on in the clock tower. You've got LPQ available. Nice, the golden bell. And 3 ribbon drops, all from the same batch of sentinels. If they'll let me pick it up. I've been having a little bit of trouble lately picking up quest items. There's another golden bell. Hang on, I think my inventory might be full. Yeah, that's why. There we go. I gotta sell a lot of the trash out of my inventory to make room. I'm waiting to get a few levels under my belt so that I can one-shot fire boars, and then I'm gonna double back and just grind on them for 100,000 years to get the glass slipper. To be honest, what I should be doing is just power leveling so I can get the alpha rewards for this server. But I'm having a good time. Just talking to y'all, completing quests. I'm a very quest-driven player. Oops. I gotta get better at using my teleport in a vertical sense, not just horizontally. But yeah, today's just a short stream. And just to get back on the topic we were discussing before you dropped in, Venom, we were kind of just talking about how video game consoles and video games and stuff tend to get like really expensive nowadays for really no reason. Oh, he's got another quest. Ooh, cool. What, he needs me to take out liners? That's my favorite. I love farming those little guys. Got to remember to hit the shop, though, and clear out my inventory. I guess I can get some more. You can't buy blue potions in Orbis, can you? Black wizard robe. It's +3/+2. I think I have +3 int on my stuff already. We just get a little bit of extra magic defense. So I'm chill there. I've got an extra purple bamboo hat. Found these pants. Guess I don't need the squishy shoes anymore. I don't know. It's not really my equipment inventory that needs to be emptied out, if you feel me. Hearthstone is actually kind of fun at the moment. Really? Didn't they just do like a really big rotation? Or like a big ban list or something? Because I saw that Kibler was playing again. And also, welcome in, Big V. I was cracking out I was trying Might Magic Fates for a little bit. I played it for a couple days. It seems like it has promise. But it's just like, I'm really glad the starter deck I picked and the cards I happen to get from the handful of packs that I got for free were solid. But it feels like a huge pain to actually upgrade or build any decks. Yep. More Mesos down the drain. I'm slowly but surely accumulating wealth. I've got 55,000 Mesos after repotting. But that's because the game and the quests and stuff have been very generous giving me potions. I don't like games like that and Flesh and Blood. I like card advantage. Yeah, I definitely agree there, Big V, with Might and Magic Fates, because you refill your hand every round. It's your deck becomes more of a macro thing where essentially when you pull your hand, it determines how much gold you get for that round. So you have to tweak the average gold that your deck is generating in order to support itself, which, you know, is a different vibe. I think it makes it more of a strategy game and less of a card game. You know what I mean? Like, card game TCGs are strategy games, but you can sort of emphasize the strategy aspect of it. And that's what I think Might Magic Fates is trying to do. It's trying to be a bit more of a strategy game. Like the way Might Magic, you know, Fates actually works like. Is it? Hang on, I think I went too far. Forget. Yeah, it's a split path. I always forget. It's a hidden street split path to get to the Garden of Three Colors. Really sick name for a map, by the way. The Garden of Three Colors and Caution Falling Down, I think, are like my favorite map names. You haven't seen me since my upgrade? No, you showed up with the jump quest. And I think I didn't click on you, but you were like level 50 already. I haven't been playing off stream really at all. I've been squeezing in some like content creation here and there in my office, and I've been trying to clean up my office a little bit. Which again, make sure you do exclamation point maple in the chat. Click on that link. Because I finally started my other YouTube channel, The Stolen Fence, where I can yap about Maple Story stuff. And I'll try to keep my main Scarzig channel more about TCGs. Just so the algorithm is a bit kinder to me. All right, so there's a bunch of them that spawn down here. I think these little guys are so damn cute. The junior liners, the junior Cellians, and the groupins. Oh my god, I love them to death. That's gonna be like one of my trademarks for sure, is having the junior liner hat. One of my favorites for NX. That sound is just me drinking tons of mana potions on my way to the next platform. We'll be able to kill 50 of each in no time. The other quest we had to kill 100 of each, and that was just nice and chill. Do you see how fast that thing moved? Was that just me, or did it feel like that monster like moved 3 or 4 times its normal speed and just charged right at me? And I'm really glad I made that video too. I put it in the intro, but I talked about how I didn't want to just wait until everything was perfect. I just jumped in there and I just started editing the video. I made like a Maple Sona like talking head, just a couple frames. And I wanted to flesh that out a little bit more. There's this podcast called The Truman Talk, where it's a film nerd that does like a deep dive on the movie The Truman Show. Really good movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. I can never remember how old everybody is in the chat, but it's one of those movies that's like really, really fucking good. One of Jim Carrey's best movies. But, and that's the other thing. Earlier I talked about like video game preservation and how you lose a lot of context by not watching, by not having the ability to play through, or kind of missing the window to play through a lot of classic games that are touted as all-time greats. And it's the same with movies too. There's a lot of movies where you go to like the top 100 movies of all time and things like that, and it's aggregated from 150 years of filmmaking, and I haven't seen a lot of them either, but there's a lot of movies that are just really good for no reason, or I should say deservedly. Stuff like the Shawshank Redemption you hear about constantly. And it's like, yeah, people aren't just saying that this movie is good because it's a how do I put it? When you ask people for like a list of what are some of the best in this genre or the best of this medium, there's like the tried and true safe suggestions that everybody gives because it's just already collectively agreed on that it's good, and you don't have to defend your position at all. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, it's like, man, what's a really good anime? And everybody just goes, oh, Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo. You know what I mean? It's just like they're just raw good. And with movies, there's still a few that are just considered to be incredibly good. And there's not really a consideration for genre and stuff. I'm saying that was like back in the day. That was the low-hanging fruit of video games, of anime suggestions, I mean. And when you talk about movies, there's also a lot of movies like, oh, Citizen Kane. It's the Citizen Kane of bloody, bloody, blah. It's the Dark Knight Returns. You know, everybody's suggesting the same movies, but I stand by when I tell you to watch Unbreakable, M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable, I'm standing on fucking business. Like, that movie is beyond reproach. Sometimes there are movies that are like flawed. You know, it's like, yeah, this movie's not for everybody. I understand why you wouldn't like it, or if you have some nitpicks. Sometimes a movie comes with caveats like, oh yeah, it's a pretty old movie, so they didn't have a good effects budget at the time or the technology at the time, but the writing and acting is still really good if you can get past that, the fact that the movie's just old. When I tell you a movie is good, I'm incredibly serious when it comes to my movie recommendations, chat. I'm not a film nerd. I'm not like a huge film buff where I'm watching movies all the time like Thunderball. But when I find a good movie, I remember it and I suggest it to people and I stand by my suggestions. Same thing with books. I've been the last few years, especially since I've been traveling for Pokemon, I've had way more time to read, like on airplanes and stuff. And that's what really kind of rekindled my love of reading, is just having more time to read in general while I'm on an airplane for like 4, 5, 6 hours. And I did a book recommendation thread a couple years ago, and I would definitely love to update that. I wasn't expecting you to start the stream early. I saw you thought the blue guys were always purple. Nope, it's always been red, yellow, and blue because of primary colors. That's so crazy. Reading instead of finishing Steins Gate or starting Bakemonogatari. To be honestly, that's valid. That's honestly valid. Because if I'm going to read in the morning with my coffee on the couch, why wouldn't I just watch 3 episodes of Steins Gate? I even got to the big CERN plot reveal where they find that flash drive or whatever it is that has the data on it, that computer, that retro computer that they had to track down because that has a special decoder built into it. And they find those like emails and stuff from CERN. I was like, oh, finally, the plot is starting to get kicked up. And then I fucking dropped it. I'm allergic to Steins Gate for some reason. It is good, too. It is good. I definitely am on board with what they're doing. And the main character isn't even really that cringe to me anymore. It's really impressive. Yo, he's got the hair. Oh my god. What's this hairstyle called again? It's called like the wild something, right? That is a thing I would really wish that they would add when you click on a character, is being able to have like another pop-out window where you can see what their cosmetics are, like their hairstyle. That would be really cool. The Cabana Boy? Oh, I see it. Hell yeah. Oh, wait, I gotta, how many, okay. I gotta go to the next garden. Hell yeah. I'm thinking about getting the Junior Liner hat or probably the blue aviation goggles. Those are like my 2 favorite NX hats. It's funny because I remember back in the day when I got you remember they had the Amoria Beauty or Beast quest where you got a free hair coupon. It would give you a random hairstyle. I got the really spiky one. and I combined that spiky hair with the junior liner hat, and it was actually so godlike. For clarities about elements, immunities and resistances were moved, so only additional effectiveness is a factor. That makes sense. That compensates for the fact that stuff isn't going to be taking no damage or reduced damage. That's cool, though. As I said, it just makes it so that every character can still feasibly go to every training spot and not just be completely hosed. Especially for, like, certain quest lines. That's chill. Okay, I got outplayed by that junior liner. Did you see it match my jump with an anti-air jump? Wow. I gotta spare that one. This junior liner is going to grow up strong. I can't believe I got outplayed like that. Yeah, we clerics lack our heal. That is the other thing, too. It's like, heal was mostly... I remember heal mattering the most against Alishar, especially as a bandit. When you just have heal being constantly spammed on you, you can't really die unless your cleric gets sealed. And so it was cool to just kind of go in and just start laying down Savage Blow on the boss with Booster. Doing what my class is actually meant to do. But the fact that they could never really get around heal spamming on Undead. In Classic World, they just nerfed heal and then buffed Holy Arrow, which seems to be a good compromise. In terms of situating Cleric as a support class, I like that they added Bless, right? So that for accuracy, we get fairly compensated with more offensive and control abilities. Yeah, exactly. In this version, you have... I forget what it's called, but it lets you, like, group enemies up. You get to draw them in. So you can group up enemies so that your warrior partner or whatever could just hit them with the Savage Blow. That's so tight. Yeah. That's a really, really good change in terms of how do I make this class able to support... Oh, we'll just give it some utility to group up monsters so that other classes can farm more effectively. And that's one of the things that makes brawlers so damn good, is they get that, you know, the back, their elbow blow or whatever it's called, corkscrew blow, that allows them to group enemies up, and then they have a group up attack and then an AoE attack in their first job kit. Gosh, brawlers! And that's the sort of innovation that comes from just knowing what you can add, you know what I mean, to a game. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if we made a melee class that could just group up enemies together? Because I was definitely on the pirate train back in the day, where I hadn't played MapleStory for a little bit, and then revisited the game to make a pirate and play them. Almost done with these ones. Well, I'll be in the area collecting star and lunar, pixie, etceteras. All right, cool. I'm only going to be streaming for a little bit longer because I'm going to be heading out later today. But I just wanted to still load up the stream, of course, and let y'all know about the new channel. Pokemon rotation is also coming up soon, so that's like a good starting on point to maybe learn some new decks in the metagame. It's been sort of an open secret that the metagame has gotten pretty stale. At a high level, it's not. Like, there's still a lot of things that are playable, but if you aren't playing one of the top 6 or 8 decks in the game, you're gonna have a pretty miserable time. And nobody just wants to, you know, be a Johnny-come-lately to learn Gardevoir right before it rotates, or pick up Charizard right before it rotates. I suppose you should just play Dragapult. if you have some legacy knowledge from this metagame going into post-rotation, Dragapult is the deck to beat. And it always will be until it rotates. It's just so damn good. It's precisely the sort of deck that if you get greedy and you aren't running a tech in your deck to counter it or fix the matchup, it's just going to farm you. And I suppose it's more manageable than Gardevoir was, because Gardevoir had way too many options in terms of other attackers, and Dragapult only really has Dragapult to attack with. So it's a lot more predictable in how it approaches the game. And now Psyduck is also getting a reprint, so we have Damp to stop the Dust Noir build, and it forces Dragapult to actually hold a bit of its weakness of only being able to deal 200 damage base. If you're free off stream, we should do some grindier quests together. Oh yeah, for sure. I have the quests for 999 curse eyes, but I need to get stronger so I can actually fight them on decently equal footing. And then fire boars. That's why I'm in Orbis, because I was like, yeah, I'll just keep going and doing quests, getting some levels, and then doubling back on some of these really grindy ones on Victoria Island, where I'm stronger, you know, and I can kind of grind through the enemies faster rather than having to, like, 5-shot everything. Even against these things, I'm, you know, doing pretty mediocre. But that's because Orbis, I feel like Ludi is a better fit for this level range. Orbis is going to be a little bit outside of your comfort zone. What were if I'm getting the junior groupings mixed up with something, am I getting them mixed up with the black and pink unicorns that were in Amoria? What were those things called? Weren't they just called, like, Black Celians? I just remember farming on them because they drop, like, 300 Mesos a pop when you kill them. So all the broke players went to Amoria to train on them. They definitely, and that does remind me again of, they should add more training spot hidden streets. It kind of gets to be a cool, like, if you know kind of thing. It's some new content for veteran players to rediscover. And it maybe makes you rethink where you're training or where you're doing quests. But yeah, if you see me online, even if I'm not streaming, definitely just shoot me a message. I've been able to focus most of my time playing on this version, playing on stream. You know, because it still comes down to like a few hours a day. So it's a pretty good pace, all things considered. And then when I'm not streaming, that's usually me catching up on other stuff like errands. That was the big thing the last few days. Heidi and I were running a lot of errands, doing a lot of stuff around the house. The weather's starting to shift here in Washington, so we're getting prepared for spring. So I managed to find, there was one sunny day last Monday where I was able to do my lawn. And we bought some stone pavers from the hardware store, Lawn and Garden, Lowe's, in order to lay down some pavers along the driveway where the water kind of collects from the gutter and it gets like really muddy. And I gotta level them off as well. I just kind of threw them down for now, but once the weather gets nicer again, I'm gonna do some more work outside. Kind of digging up and leveling off some parts of my yard where the rain collects really bad. And I said I was telling you that I installed that ceiling fan light. The light in my bedroom was really, really dim. Even though it was an LED, the like frosted glass around the light was like way too crazy, so you could never see in there. And so we have this ceiling fan with a light fixture built around in a ring that we got from Costco. We painted it, and it comes with a remote, so you can adjust the light temperature and the brightness. It's such a good upgrade. Now, when I kill 50 of these, I should get the quest complete notification. Yeah, just a few more. And I'm almost leveled up, which is great. Either I'll level up by killing these last handful, or I'll level up by completing the quest. The black and pink Amoria ones were the Scarzig. Ah, that's what they were called. Yeah. Another really iconic enemy. Do you think they should wait to add Amoria to add Scarzig? Or do you think that they could maybe put them on a different map? Because I think it's already been confirmed that there's no Amoria yet. Did they add Amoria before or after Ludi? I don't remember. When I played, it was always there. I didn't play in the super, like, 2003 days of MapleStory. I think I started playing in, like, 2004, 2005. Way back in the day when I was playing on my CRT desktop computer. All right. I'm glad I bought all those return nearest town scrolls. I imagine probably they won't add Sacrocelian specifically, but they might add a specific monster that maybe has like a really bad XP rate, but drops a lot of Mesos as a balancing thing. So that way, if you need Mesos, you just train there. Nice. Okay, so, next level, we have to put points in luck for our next set of equipment. But for now, we can just put points into intelligence. And then I said that I wanted to put one more point in booster to increase the duration, and then a couple more points in mastery. So I keep getting my damage minimum improved. And now that we've done that... Okay. So now we can go to Orbis Tower. If you want to respec at any time, you can do so via the Maple admin too. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because I've been split maxing stuff just to give some new spells a try. I wanted to see what Lightning Strike looked and felt like, but it's probably not the most mathematically efficient. That is a really good feature for the alpha. Wait, I'm going the complete fucking... I do this every time. Orbis Tower has its own portal over here. You go south with this angel statue. Technically, it's a fairy statue. The fairies have bird wings. Well, the fairies, you've seen them in Alinea. These are like Orbis fairies. They're different. And now we get our junior shell pieces. And then as we go further down, there's the blue and red junior sentinels. And those were also an enemy that was an elemental type enemy. Where like the red ones were weak to ice and the blue ones were weak to fire. Just a huge pain in the ass. But because Orbis and Ludi was the first content update, it does make sense that they would try to emphasize the elemental weaknesses and some of the strengths of second job. But it was just not really a good change. And I really actually, now that I am thinking about it, I haven't heard any specific data around how elemental weaknesses are being handled in Classic World. Heal got nerfed, but I don't think that they have confirmed or they were going to change specifically that undead monsters were suddenly not going to be affected by heal, for example. They just made heal weaker. Because the calculation for heal was based on like the level of heal time with a small, like the amount that you heal every time you cast heal to heal a member of your party. You know what I mean? It's like based on your intelligence and the caster's level and the level of the spell. And then that would also just be applied to undead monsters, I think, with a slight bonus multiplier because it's a holy spell. And, you know, there might be a world where they make heal a percentage. You max it with like 10 points or something. And then Holy Arrow becomes Cleric's bit, if that makes sense. Because that's the issue, is that Clerics, they have Magic Claw and Holy Arrow. And that's it, right? So if heal doesn't have an offensive capability, then it's just a job that doesn't get to really do anything. But then the double-edged sword of it is that because heal affects undead and it's so effective for undead, you can only train on like 6 maps. The zombie mushrooms in the ant tunnel, zombie lupins, wraiths. And then the other undead monsters are like in Ludibrium, which won't be a thing in Classic World. I think in like Victoria Island only, there really aren't any good cleric training maps beyond level 40-ish. So if you make a cleric in Classic World, you're going to be actually cooked. I was split maxing too to try stuff out, but then I respec. Now I'm on a very clear skill route. That's going to be another big thing too with Classic World, is a lot of players are going to be experimenting with skill changes, especially with bandits. I was talking about the bandit calculations during the last stream, and there was a player in the chat who was asking, they were saying that Steel should be way better because it's a mobbing skill, but it's not. Steel was at one point changed to be a mobbing skill, I think, where it hit like up to 3 monsters. But this new version of Steel is about applying the weapon attack buff. But it still only hits 1 monster. It is a ranged attack, so it is safer to set up. But the fact that it's a percentage is really cringe. And even at max level, it's a 90% chance. It's like, there's really not much to complain about. Like, oh no, my plus 30 weapon attack buff or whatever it is only procs 90% of the time and you can just cast the skill again. It's just an extra mana tax that you pay for it every once in a while. You know what I mean? It doesn't actually matter. I think wands are better than staffs, it feels to me. At least until you have max booster to kind of bring staffs back into line. But I think if I were to respec, I would also probably not put any points in booster and just stick with a wand to keep the increased base attack speed, casting speed. It feels like casting speed is way better than the individual strength of a spell, especially in this level range where you're going to have to use multiple spells to clear things regardless. And, of course, it's the classic MapleStory math of you have to max mastery first. You know what I mean? Just mathematically, in terms of damage, it's just the best thing you can possibly do over everything else. And that definitely deserves to be a topic. Call it like I had a video topic written down about how, like, when you get to second job, it's really lackluster. And I wonder if I would tie the subject into mastery, or if that deserves to be its own video of how mastery is. Probably it probably can just be in the same video. One of the reasons that that getting your second job advancement is so lackluster is because mastery is mandatory. And it's something that they could just easily fix by... Well, it's ironic, right? Because magicians and assassins, classes that have their mastery put into their skills, so they don't actually care about their mastery at all outside of the damage minimum and accuracy. Well, mages have mastery built into their spells, so they don't get a mastery skill traditionally to fix their damage minimums. Assassins, they still need the damage minimums from mastery, but they don't care about the accuracy from mastery. But even their damage calculations and accuracy of Lucky 7 has a unique under the hood calculation, right? And so every other class has to spend the first 5 or 6 levels fixing their damage calculation by putting points into mastery, fixing their accuracy and fixing their damage calculation. And fortunately, Classic World has changed mastery to not just be, oh, here's some extra accuracy. They made it so that it's a unique mastery passive feature you get for the specific weapon type. But that's only fixing half of the problem, right? It's cool that I don't have to worry about accuracy as much in Classic World. And it is cool that they're changing mastery so that it gives a unique mechanic to a weapon. Like with axes, their mastery gives them bleed, or with dagger mastery giving you extra crit chance, for example. Those are the big ones that I thought were coolest. That's what I remember off the top of my head. I'm not sure. I think for blunt weapon mastery, they gave stun chance, which doesn't really matter. It would be cool maybe if blunt weapon mastery had a stun chance and maybe combine the armor breaking that white knights and stuff are generally known for and just put that on their attacks. So it's kind of like they get an attack buff as well, but it gives them a little bit of a supporting niche as warriors, where they can reduce armor naturally with their skills through blunt weapon mastery. That would make them, like, monstrously good, wouldn't they? Especially at, like, higher level. And then we get the combined sort of thing where Threaten and Disorder are kind of stepping on each other's toes. And then bandits get to cast Disorder on bosses, potentially. And then pages get to just apply an armor break debuff using a blunt weapon for bossing purposes. And so if you... adding a mechanic to mastery does make it feel less bad to have to max it first. But that's still a lot of levels where you don't get anything new, if that makes sense, right? What you're doing already gets better, but you aren't getting to do something new. Just have it work on bosses, but be halved. That's the thing, too. I'm pretty sure it's already been confirmed that Disorder... Well, Disorder was changed to a percent debuff, so it already does scale better into the late game. But I think that they made it so that Disorder and Threaten don't stack. So if you, like, have a White Knight or a Page or whatever, then having a Bandit might be redundant. But it might be like a Final Fantasy XIV tank and off-tank thing, where, you know, they're kind of swapping back and forth who has their debuff at any given time. It was 30, 10, and 10. I forgot to check my numbers. Oh, I need 3 more fire pieces. And like I say, that's just something that they can add utility. The idea of having a paladin-style class, right? A Page and a White Knight, where it's a warrior, but they have some supporting skills. I think that that would be pretty cool and very thematic for a blunt weapon. What is, what's the... I can't remember off the top of my head what they gave swords. Do swords keep their accuracy buff? I think for sword mastery. And then axes get bleed. I might be simple-minded, but I enjoy the number go up. I definitely get that. I definitely get that. I think I have Bandit brain because Savage Blow is just so damn cool to me. And most other classes, it's like, you're going to be slash blasting everything for the rest of time anyway. You're casting Lucky 7 on everything for the rest of time anyway. There's actually very few classes that get a new central skill in Second Job, if we're being honest. Second Job is mostly meant for grinding and mostly for correcting your scaling and just building up passives that just make you generally stronger. I bet. You look cute. Maria's going to be here at 4. I know. I know. I told them it was only going to be a short stream today. Maria said she's going to be here at 4 or 4:30. Okay, cool. Then let me turn in these quests, and then I'm going to hop in the shower. Get! Who tooted in here? Yeah. So I got to take them out anyway because we're about to head out. So let me turn in these quests. Orbis Rock Scroll. Oh, that's right. It's its own scroll. So you can fast travel to the top and bottom of Orbis Tower. And then Moppy. And I think you have to, get him some food. Oh, Junior Pepe's. That's right. Yeah, that's right. In Elnath. Cool. Like right now, while working on my booster, the idea of cheaper booster for a longer time is incentive enough. Yes, Venom. I definitely agree there. Like I say, when you get to Second Job and you just max mastery first, you're just getting stronger and dealing more damage with your existing kit for like the first 6 levels. And it takes a lot of impact out of actually getting to Second Job. If you have a new attacking skill or something like that to use, then I think there could be something there. Or like if you could max mastery faster, like if mastery was only 10 levels to max instead of 20, then you spend the first 3 levels getting your mastery and you're good to go. And then you can start getting some of your other skills. Just as a more enjoyable experience. You aren't having to necessarily tweak numbers or buff or nerf skills. You just make it so you can master them faster. So you have to put less skill points into them so that you can get your other skills faster. And the fact that your Second Job skills have to play catch up to your maxed First Job skills. So your second, like Lightning Strike isn't better than Magic Claw. And I'm not sure at what level, let me see, it's 87 to 94. So that's 7% per point. If that scaling sticks, then Thunder Spear needs to be at rank 4 before it's better than Magic Claw, roughly. It's just little stuff like that. I think that, yeah, leaving Booster at like rank 6 or 7 is generally pretty respectable. And then you move on to your other stuff. And Booster is also a skill that it's more effective on certain classes than other ones. Like, Warriors don't care about Booster as much because they just prefer big single hits. What server is this? This is the Bane Sauce version that I picked up from Joe Hawk. Learned about it from him on his stream. And I went and did some hunting. It's just cleverly disguised. I'm not going to gatekeep. But anyway, I am going to go. Just wanted to do a short stream today. Make sure you check out that new video on my new channel, The Stolen Fence, where I'll be all of the discussion and yap that I've been talking about for MapleStory and MapleStory Classic World and stuff. I'm going to script out and condense into individual videos for your enjoyment. So if you've enjoyed a lot of the topics we've talked about regarding MapleStory Classic World, stay tuned to that channel so I can organize my thoughts and present them in a better way with some editing and music, etc. So, and I would really appreciate the subscription and the love for my first video that I finally got around to editing. But I'll see you all next time. Peace out.